he's up a game looking to head into the finals against Matt Hoey, but he's going to need to win one more game over his Bug Delver opponent if he wants to do so.
And to that end, Colin's bringing in, or has the option to bring in a Graphics Cage, a Manriki Gasari, a Meekstone, Aethersworn Candace, 2 Whitley Lieges, a Moat, 2 Oblivion Rings, 2 Rest in Peace, 2 Enlightened Tutor, and 2 copies of Cataclysm. Not really a whole lot in here that I'm excited to bring in. Oblivion Ring is fine, though it is a big Abrupt Decay target. Wiltleaf Liege is nice for me in this matchup, I think, as a way to fight Liliana the Veil. They plus it, you just get to put it in for free. Besides that, not a whole lot I'm interested in. And on the other side, 2 Graphics Cages, a Null Rod, a Sylvan Library, 2 Disfigures, a Golgari Charm, a Crozan Grip, 2 Spell Pierce, 2 Vendilion Click, a Thoughtseize, and 2 Toxic Deluge. 2 Toxic Deluge and a Golgari Charm, 2 Disfigure. That's a really nice set of cards to have against Death and Taxes.
Yeah, remember the Death and Taxes creatures are all on the small side. They tend to be like 2/1s, 3/1s, 1/1s. All this cheap removal is pretty good against them, especially something like Toxic Deluge that gets around a Mother of Runes.
I'm really intrigued to see the Moat in the sideboard of Death and Taxes. You do not see that very often as an Enlightened Tutor target.
Yeah, it is interesting. I'm not sure if he'll use it. Remember, the only other 2 players left in this tournament are both Delver players. So I'm not positive we'll get to see Moat in our coverage. They can, of course, if you build a castle with a moat around it, you know, winged creatures will still attack you. So.
Well, it depends on other things that are going on in the matchup. For Brenden's deck, for example, I think Moat's very poorly suited. He has Tombstalker alongside Delver of Secrets and Deathrite Shaman. Those can all win the game, even with a Moat in play. And you know that he's bringing in a Golgari Charm, so you can't be safe sitting behind it for the entire game regardless. But against Rogue Delver, there's a much more compelling case, I think. You can fight over Delver of Secrets, and then they're just left with Nimblebong, Goose, and Tarmogoyf. So I'm not sure if he's going to want to bring in against a deck like Rug, but there's more of an argument there than bringing in against a deck like Bug, where I think it does very little.
Right. So now, this is traditionally a pretty good matchup for Death and Taxes, right?
I believe so, yeah. I think most matchups where, you know, Mother of Runes, Swords of Plowshare, Stoneforge, Mystic, sort of that core of cards, you're going to beat most creature decks. It's tough here because Brenden has access to so many sweepers post-board. You know, he has his Golgari Charms and his Toxic Deluges. That complicates things quite a bit.
Yeah, there are some tailor-made tools here for the matchup. Brenden Estrada on the play. Looks like he has kept his hand. Colin Logan maybe starting with less than 7. Yeah, so at least 6 is going to try for a hand there.
I bring this up a lot when I watch Death and Taxes on coverage. You know, there's so many Delver decks, Rug and Bug and Blue, White, Red. It really surprises me these decks do not find room for Path to Exile on the sideboard, because I feel like that would improve this matchup so much. There's no basics for them to find. And if you just had access to more creature removal, I feel like these matchups would go from good to extremely good.
So what's, I mean, the hedge, so you're not suggesting they play paths instead of swords. You're saying they just want more swords?
Yeah, still play 4 plows in the main deck. That's and then have a path or 2 in the sideboard.
All right, on the play, Bug Delver is going to have a turn 1 Deathrite Shaman, but we see a turn 1 Aether Vial from Colin Logan. Perhaps he will be the one going on the mana denial plan. We will see. Certainly can be pretty good against these style decks, is he?
It looks like Brenden has found his Golgari Charm, so that's a big tool for this matchup.
Yeah, and I am wondering, it looks like Brenden that turn drew a Daze. It may be possible.
I'm pretty sure he would have dazed the Vial.
Yeah, I would have thought as well. So we'll see here. Vial takes up to 1. Colin Logan is going to go for a Thalia, see if that card resolves. Yeah, and that's going to be the hard cast Daze for Brenden Estrada. So Thalia does not resolve. In this matchup, so when you have something like a turn 1 Vial, how often do you want to still like cast that Thalia? Like he could have had the Thalia certainly had he waited a turn, right?
Yes.
So there's like this balancing act of do you cast things on curve or do you wait them with Vial?
I think by and large you want to cast them off of the Vial here. You need to shut off as much of Brenden's counterspells as possible. You don't want to turn them into live cards with your Vial in play. That's a good recipe to turn Vial into a mulligan. So I think you need to leverage that as much as you can, especially when Brenden's not really up to very much. You know, if he was a little more explosive, if you felt you were going to be under the gun, that'd be one thing. But the way that Brenden's pacing the game, you have a little bit of time to take some lumps and set up your Vial to be really good.
To be fair, now, Brenden started the game on the Bayou or the Tropical Island?
He started, I believe, on Bayou.
Okay, so I was going to say, if he started on Tropical Island, you could assume he didn't have Daze, because he didn't Daze your Aether Vial.
Right.
Now, but he started on Bayou, which means, well, maybe he doesn't have, that's different because you can't daze off a Bayou.
Sure.
Liliana takes up to 4. This is a turn 3 Liliana for Brenden, going at the hands here.
This would be a really good spot for Whitleaf Liege, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't think he has it.
I think this would be I think it'd be a little bit faster to discard.
So I mean, it's Whitleaf Liege. He could be playing Obstinate Baloth or Luxodon Smiter. Obviously not Smiter, but never mind. He can cast it. It's mono white. I answered my own question. You want something you can act. I suppose they actually do cast it sometimes.
Yeah, sure. It's 4 mana. It's very castable.
At first I was thinking like, oh, you only ever discard it or Violet in. Like, don't you ever actually cast it? But yeah, it is castable. And he's gonna go for Umezawa's Jite. This accompanies a Mother of Runes that was vialed in. That Mother of Runes not long for this board. Liliana at the weight and another Liliana in Estrada's hand. That one may just get, we may see an Edict here and then a Liliana Plus or something like that.
Or this Golgari Charm that's been hanging out
Oof.
in Brennan's hand too. I mean,
Yeah.
I have a feeling Colin's going to slip up here somewhere just because there's too many things that he has to try to play around.
Yeah. He wastes Brenden off one of his duels. Brenden had one of each duel though, so he can't knock Brenden off a color. Not to mention Brenden has Deathrite Shaman, so Brendan's mana looking just fine. Colin with just 1 card left in his hand. So you think he may see him plus the Liliana and then Golgari Charm the Mother of Runes. He's gonna mindset to Edict the Mother of Runes. And the question is, how much does he want that last card in Colin's hand? And he's gonna go ahead and vial Sarah Avenger into play. This one could be a little tricky for Brenden to get around because he doesn't have a way right now to answer it.
Yeah, he's kind of caught off guard here. I mean, this is a really rough turn.
Yeah, so Sarah Avenger's going to suit up with Umezawa's Jite, and that's going to go ahead and get in.
You're looking at a hand of Golgari Charm, Daze, Liliana. This is no resistance.
Yep. Liliana's taken down 2 counters on the Umezawa's Jite. Now, if Colin has the wherewithal to kill the Deathrite Shaman, then that means Brenden may not even be able to Liliana the Sarah Avenger next turn, and Colin's going to do just that.
Well, looks like Brenden does have the option here of... It looks like he's going to just let this go. I thought that... Oh, no, he has no way to fight over this. Oh,
wow,
and
in the Wasteland. That's what a draw for Colin. And before I was going to say, if Colin hadn't killed the Deathrite and let Brenden untap, Brenden could play Liliana and Edict it, but a game that looked like it was going in Brenden Estrada's favor has taken a huge turn for the worse here.
Yeah, he went from it looks locked up with a backup Liliana to boot to
wow, this game's over, Sarah Avenger. Yeah, rest in peace as well. So now graveyards are empty, Tarmogoyfs are off, Deathrite Shamans are off. Brenden just a tropical island and nothing else going on.
Yeah, this is an ugly turn of events here for Brenden.
Well, he has a Ponder, so he's going to try to find something. Remember, 1 Abrupt Decay actually will buy him a lot of turns here if he can find a land and an Abrupt Decay.
But Colin can play around that a little bit by just using the Jite at this point to just pump Sarah Avenger, make it 7 points of damage.
It's going to be, Jite's going to be an equipment that gives +4/+4 right now. He's going to shove as much damage as he can while the Sarah Avenger is alive. Yeah,
This game flips so fast.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm saying Brenden, yeah, he basically just needs that removal spell and land immediately, right? He has about 2 turns to find it. Really, has about 1 turn to find it.
Yeah.
If he doesn't find it in 1 turn, the problem is that any creature will be lethal then from Colin. He'll be forced to kill everything for the rest of the game.
And this is a good demonstration of the power of Aether Vial in this matchup, too. If Colin was forced to cast his creatures at instant speed, I don't think there's any way that he would have beaten the Liliana and another removal spell and the Daze and so forth. But
yeah, it would have gotten Dazed, it could have gotten Edicted, but the fact that it was an end-step Sarah Avenger that could untap and use the Jite really was everything here. And he's going to swing, pump up to a 7/7, and then put the counters back on. So Brenden will drop down to 11. Counters are back on here. And 1 card remains in Colin's hand. It was his draw for the turn. And he's going to go ahead and hang on to it.
gives the deck a little knock. Brenden looking for some help.
All right, Brainstorm's going to look for some new weapons here. He finds that land he's looking for. Is this going to be enough? Does he have an Abrupt Decay? Finds a copy of what looks to be a Null Rod in hand.
Yeah, he found Land, Null Rod, and Mystery off of this Brainstorm.
Null Rod's not too bad. It turns the Sarah Avenger back into a 3/3.
It's a starting point. And then all he has to do is get to Liliana, and then
He's okay.
ish. Still a lot of
Yeah.
bad stuff can happen.
There's still, absolutely. To be fair, like Colin has a really good offensive going on, but it's not well protected.
Yeah, the house of cards can collapse pretty easily here. I mean, one removal spell, and as you mentioned, just something that shuts down the Jitte buys Brenden all sorts of time.
So he putting 2 back with this Brainstorm. And he has some creatures. He has a Tarmogoyf. He has options. He's going to go ahead and pass here. He plays a Misty Rainforest. I think he wants the GT counters. Is he going to, and he's going to go ahead, is he taking, he's going to go ahead and just take 3. Collins has to put more counters on Sarah Avenger, on the GT. Doesn't Brenden this time. Because of the open mana, he didn't want to lose him to an Abrupt Decay.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where Brenden brainstorms, puts it back, plays a land, says go.
Yeah,
There's some red flags that, you know, there's some sort of removal spell or something going on there.
Yeah, and we did have Colin's playing Mother of Runes here. That gives him protection against Liliana. What is it? The question is, what is Brenden playing? You know, he had other things he could play and opted not to. And it's going to be Golgari Charm, shrinking all the creatures. That's a really heads-up move here. It's going to get the Mother of Runes out of Colin's board and open the way for Liliana to kill the Sarah Avenger.
Yeah, this is a very good job of setting up the Edict.
That's a pretty risky play. So say Colin doesn't play a Mother of Runes or something. You know, what was the other use of that mana? He could have Null Rod is 2, right?
Yes.
So he could have Null Rodded the GT there, but he went for a different play, which turned out to really have a lot of payoff here, but I'm very impressed that he picked it. And that Liliana does Edict the Sarah Avenger. So Stoneforge Mystic for Colin Logan. Going to try to pick up where Sarah Avenger left off. It's 7 life. And go and find what I'd imagine would be a Batterskull, which actually plays very nicely under a Null Rod.
Still functional.
Still functional. Still, I mean, it just turns into a creature. You know, once the germ falls off, it's done. And a little bit, he's going to get sort of Fire Ice instead, which I think is going to end up biting him here.
Well, I wonder if he has some sort of backup creature he can violin or something.
Okay. And Steven Estrada here, and there comes Null Rod. It's going to hit. I'm assuming Colin may gain some life immediately in response. It's going to hit the Vial, it's going to hit the GT, and it also takes care of that Sword of Fire and Ice that hasn't even entered the battlefield yet.
Yeah, it's nice to force Colin's hand here a little bit too, and make him activate the Vial right now before you decide whatever it is that you want to discard with Liliana.
Yeah, we'll see. Colin checks his own sideboard here. I think checking whether or not he boarded in any way to blow up artifacts. You know, he does have Oblivion Rings in his sideboard, so it is possible. He can always Flicker Wisp out the Null Rod, and he can get around it for a turn if he wants to.
It's a lot of mana, but he does have the ability to do that potentially.
I suppose in my mind he was like, we could vial in a Flicker Wisp, and then he could wait. Hold on. Yeah, without the Aether Vial, he really doesn't have too much mana. So a value life gain. Colin burns 2 of the counters to go up to 23. Looks like he's going to leave the other 2 counters on the GT, hoping that he can get that Null Rod off the board at some point. Ponder is the play. Right now, Brenden, he does have a Liliana going. He doesn't have any threats yet. Granted, he's really trying to contain Colin's deck right now.
But he's forcing Colin to play kind of a fair game right now, shutting off the Vial and the Jitte. So even though Brenden doesn't have anything going on right now, he's got a lot of time to find something.
So go back to that Stoneforge Mystic. How much is it going to hurt Colin the fact that he now has a sword in his hand as opposed to a Batterskull?
It's potentially huge.
Well,
No other way around it.
Yeah, he has 2 cards in his hand. I think at this point the sword will just be something he discards to Liliana then. And we'll see. Liliana goes up to 2. And he's going to discard sword. So, interesting question about sequencing. If Brenden pluses the Liliana before playing Null Rod, it's possible he could get Colin to keep the sword in his hand.
Sure.
Another Mother of Runes for Colin Logan.
That's a big deal. If this gets untapped as protection against removal, it also means that there's Edict protection against Liliana. It also means that if Brenden does nothing, that Colin can attack the Liliana to death.
Last turn, Colin did hit the Liliana down to 1. He left Brenden at 7. He's going to play Mother of Runes and Meekstone into play. Meekstone pretty... Okay, this is a 1 in his sideboard. It stops large creatures from untapping. Creatures with power greater than 2, I believe.
It's another card that's anti-Tombstalker, anti-Tarmogoyf.
Yep, good against Stalker, good against Tarmogoyf. Good against flipped Delvers.
Yep.
So pretty effective actually against Bug Delver. So we're going to start here before he gets a chance to get protection. Disfigure is going to take care of the Mother of Runes. And Tarmogoyf is on the board for Brenden. It's a large Tarmogoyf, but once it's tapped for good.
Well, there's still Rest in Peace in play, so I actually think what's happening here is Brendan's doing this with the intent on chump blocking and maybe editing next turn.
Okay, right, there's a recipe, so the Goyf's still just a 0-1.
Yeah, but a chump blocker may allow Liliana to get the next turn, take care of the Stoneforge Mystic, and then they're at parity.
And that was a draw of
goodness.
Batterskull for Colin. That's huge.
Or that can happen.
Wow. So he makes that play here.
I also really like this Meekstone Batterskull deck here. It's kind of taking me back to my Meekstone Sarah Angel days. This is nice.
Meekstone plus Vigilance.
That is a combo deck.
And Delver of Secrets now in play for Brenden. What is he? He needs to Edict. The only thing, like, if he can kill that germ, it's not, you know, the Batterskull's not going anywhere else.
I don't even think he can really Edict here. I mean, what's the plan after that?
Right.
Colin throws away Stoneforge Mystic, and then you try to beat the Batterskull. I don't think that's acceptable. I think what happens here is Brenden needs to hope that he draws something like Disfigure or Abrupt Decay, something, and then can chain together an Edict.
The tough part is with the creatures he has. So you see Colin making this attack. He assumed he was going to have to chump the Batterskull, but the annoying part is he actually would have to chump Stoneforge Mystic too.
Yeah.
You know, these two creatures, I believe, going at Liliana. Yeah, the Stoneforge knocks her right back down to 2. And just so much disruption going on right now for Colin. This Rest in Peace is really doing a number.
It's so good against Bug Delver. You know, it's not just about beating Dredge with this card.
Yeah, regular Rest in Peace, such a hate card with such a strong hate card as far as how strongly it answers things. It's main deckable almost, you know. It has so much utility against so many different things that people do. And we will see here. Can Brenden find an answer here? This Batterskull is going to take care of things fairly quickly. All he needs is a kill spell for Stoneforge Mystic, and then he can take care of the Germ Token, and he'll be back at parity. But he's going to need one very quickly.
And even then, you know, the game is shaping up in such a way that it's not unrealistic here for Colin to just reset Batterskull and a couple turns later redeploy it. It's so hard for Brenden to get any sort of forward footing.
Yeah. He'd have to take care of the Null Rod first.
Right.
So,
but there's Oblivion Rings and so forth in Colin's deck.
We're still at the standoff. Brenden draws a Wasteland. It's going to take care of Caracas. That's a start, but his Delver did flip an Insectile Apparition. But, you know, this 4/4 Batterskull is still a problem. If he doesn't chump block for the Batterskull, things get tougher. And he has Abrupt Decay. He's going to Abrupt Decay the Germ Token. Liliana pluses. And now that he had the kill spell, it seems like the serve has gone back over in favor of Brenden.
Yeah, he's going to be able to Edict next turn, you know, block this turn, Edict next turn, and then start taking up Liliana again and have insurance against future creatures.
Yeah. Remember, he's not attacking with the Insectile Aberration because of that Meekstone that Colin has played. So Thalia hits the table for Colin. This is now the big creature on the block because it can swing through a Insectile Aberration. So things may be in favor of Colin again. Hard to say. Another Delver of Secrets for Brenden.
Yeah, 2-power first striker is pretty potent on this board.
What Brenden can do is he can continue to tick up the Liliana. Oh, he's going to Edict it. Well, that'll go to Stoneforge Mystic for sure. Well, I was going to say, if he ticks up the Liliana, he could let Liliana take a hit off Thalia, and then if he was fortunate enough to flip that Delver, he could double block the Thalia and trade an insect with the Thalia.
Well, he can double block right now. I mean, it's 2 powers to first strike damage, yeah.
All right, yeah, you're right, the
now.
double block still works right here. Horizon Canopy, the draw for Colin. Yeah, Liliana is protected. So can Colin swing in here? I don't think he wants to. He could Horizon Canopy to try to get a card. It seems like that's what he'd have to do.
I feel like he has to wait.
So Liliana doesn't eat it.
Well, the problem is that if he just attacks with Thalia, he trades his Thalia with an Insectile Aberration, then next turn he's back in the same spot he was trying to avoid before, which is Liliana taking up on an uncontested board.
Right. So that means he needs to wait. He wants to not attack. He wants to get that card off Horizon Canopy, but he's got to do it on Brendan's end step. And Brenden, with a draw of Wasteland, had a powerful option. Was he could have wasted the Horizon Canopy, forced Colin to draw a card, and then ticked up the Liliana.
Yeah. It's a nice play.
I mean, it does mean you lose your Wasteland. Your Wasteland just doesn't, you're burning your land to kill something that Colin was going to sack anyway. But you get a card for it.
Yeah, the random draw step you got to be worried about a lot right now, because if Colin finds something like Swords to Plowshares or just even just a creature, it gets complicated again from Brendan's side.
Would you trade your Wasteland for a random card in Colin's hand?
I think at this stage, yes.
I think so too. There aren't too many lands you actually need to get in Colin's deck. Your Wastelands in this matchup are just for utility lands anyway. They don't actually do a great job of mana screwing the opponent. So Colin now has 2 cards in hand. We'll see what he chooses to do here. He does have the Thalia in play. If he'd drawn a Swords, he could just swing the Thalia and then force Brenden to call there. He plays Wasteland. And he must feel like he has to attack the Liliana, right? Even if he has nothing, because otherwise Liliana could just eat the Thalia.
Maybe he can still wait one more turn.
Yeah, I don't think Brendan's going to minus it. He just doesn't want to lose the Liliana.
Right. I think you have one more turn you can wait here.
Deciding right now what he wants to do with this Wasteland. There's a Wasteland on Brendan's side he could get. He could also take, I believe he could take Brenden. Oh, Brenden has one of each duel again. I believe so. Or can he take him off blue mana?
It's one of each duel.
Okay, so can't do any heavy damage there. Yeah, one of each. He's going to go ahead and take out the C. Leave Brenden with excess green, but not the other colors. Does Delver flip? We're going to go back to Brendan's turn. And he draws Tarmogoyf. It's not going to flip, but it's another 0-1 Tarmogoyf. Okay, so walk me through the lists. What is Brenden? So what I kind of feel like here is I'm not sure what Brendan's drawing toward. Like, yeah, I think Liliana on 6 is kind of his late game plan, but outside of that, I don't really get what his late game is.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, there's so many different interlocking pieces here. He's got to find a way to slog through.
Yeah, Mother of Runes was the draw there for Thalia, and what a timely disfigure for Brenden.
It's pretty good. I mean, now he gets to clear out.
If he didn't have the disfigure, then this he would have had to Edict the Liliana, because otherwise Mother of Runes plus Thalia would have started punching away at his Planeswalker. That said, he drew it at the right time, and he's going to get to pick which creature he wants to take care of.
Liliana on the screen, please.
And it's going to go ahead and take out Thalia. Liliana's going down to 1. That edicts the Mother Runes. And this be like, it says, so Brenden doesn't seem to be trying to build a Liliana up to 6. If he wanted to build it to 6, he would have disfigured the Mother Runes and then just kept taking up Liliana and had that standoff continue.
So here's the thing I think that Brenden can try to execute this game. He can go ultimate with Liliana at 7 counters, split Meekstone versus no, assuming that he's able to keep Colin's board contained for the entire game. Once he gets the Meekstone off the table, then the game becomes very easy. You can start attacking with Insectile Operations.
So in that case, then that last turn, you would have wanted him to disfigure the other creatures that he didn't have to minus the Liliana?
No, I'm fine taking his time. There's no rush. I mean, Colin's kind of incapacitated right now.
Yeah.
So I don't mind taking his time. But he does have a sequence to still win this game. It takes forever. But he can just get Liliana up to 7, split yes or no, and then if Colin keeps the Meekstone, then just take Liliana back up to 7, or whatever the case may be.
So the concerns about waiting, if I have it right, is that Colin could draw one of his 4 Phyrexian Revokers here, right? And
yes.
That would be, then that forces Brenden to have a kill spell.
Or he blinds an Oblivion Ring, takes care of your Null Rod, and then all of a sudden...
And everything breaks loose.
Yeah, everything breaks loose.
Well, to be fair, it actually doesn't. I mean, okay, so say right now Null Rod's gone, right? That's not actually a threat. It will be eventually, but it isn't yet. On 3rd Delver of Secrets for Brenden Estrada, and now he flips it off Croson Grip. Things are looking up for him. So it looks like he's close to turning a corner here.
This got much easier.
Yeah, so so he has a bunch of flyers. He does have the Croson Grip, so he got rid of the Meekstone. But there is one concern. He plussed the Liliana and got Wiltly Fleeged off Colin's side. That's a play that can turn around games. I think at this point it may not matter. He's going to go ahead and punch Colin down to 21 with, I believe, 2 Flying Delvers.
Well, it could. If Colin is able to draw running creatures and Brenden misses on removal spells.
All right, just 1. It's down to 24. Yeah, now Colin can swing. Brendan's going to chump with this 0/1 Tarmogoyf. And he's wondering whether it pumps I think all green creatures, or whether it's just Colin's, and it's just Colin's. So 0/1 Tarmogoyf finds use. It's going to chump. Liliana will probably take care of Wiltly Fleege. And it is just 2 Delvers at the moment, I believe. Confirm, is that 2 or 3 Delvers in play? It's just like...
So now Colin, I believe, is doomed.
Yeah, he's getting hit for 6 each turn by these insectile aberrations.
What a weird game this one was.
Yeah, I mean, both players locked each other out of the game, and I was seeing who could break a lock. I think the best lock piece ended up being the proactive lock piece. The fact that Liliana keeps working after she starts locking ended up being a little more than Colin could overcome.
Yeah. Liliana did a ton of work in this game.
Yeah, 100 work. So Colin drawing one, like, so hoping to draw back into this, but I'm not sure what he draws toward anymore. You know, you mentioned Oblivion Ring being pretty good. I agreed with that, but Liliana does a real good job of locking things.
Well, now the clock's just too fast too. You know, Colin, maybe there was a time where he could have sequenced together some running draws here to get out of all this, but
yeah, at this point he would need to be drawing more than 1 card per turn, which is something his deck doesn't really do. Well, he does have a good player. He's going to play Flicker Wisp and Flick.
All right,
Perhaps we speak too soon. Flicker's back Batterskull, so now he has another germ on it.
So what happens if Brenden just minuses Liliana here? Then presumably he gets rid of the
Flicker Wisp.
Flicker Wisp goes to 2, and I guess at that point he can draw a removal spell for a
well, he doesn't
insectile
go to 2,
aberration and be fine.
He goes to 6, right? Yeah, Brenden had to leave back both the insectile aberrations so that he could double block the germ. Or he's just chumping it. Yeah, he's decided his game plan is to just continue to chump the germ token so he can edict it. It seems like the game plan is to just protect Liliana.
Well, the problem there is if he loses his entire board, then he's at the mercy of Flicker Wisp or Oblivion Ring or something else coming off the top of the deck.
What's his better line? I mean, is there another line he can take? I mean, this obviously is not a good line for Brenden, but does he have a better option?
Last turn he could have gone attack you,
down to
you,
6.
Attack you down to...
It would down to 6, yeah, and then he's up to 10.
I guess there's just too much life on Colin's side to play with here.
Yeah, and I don't think he has a better line. He's going to go ahead and chump with Deathrite Shaman. He's buying time until he can find an Abrupt Decay is what it looks like. And this is a pretty big one. Bermad's King of Rescos. Your whole Meekstone Sarah Angel plan, I mean, the Meekstone's gone. Okay, but his deck does certainly have that capacity to it.
And now this is removal spell or bust on Brendan's side.
Yeah, a game has been back and forth for the entire game. It looks like Colin Logan, you know, I don't want to speak too soon because we've had a bunch of coming backs going both ways.
Yeah, I mean, I was ready to call it 2 turns ago, and this Flicker Wisp has completely shifted the game around.
And finally, the Liliana hits the graveyard to Edict.
I believe that I would sacrifice Bermaz here. Because you just have to worry less about future Abrupt Decays.
Yes. Yeah, especially because if you have a way to get rid of Null Rod, then Batterskull becomes a card again. I'm not sure how much it particularly matters. They're both fairly good. And Batterskull is going to, Germ Croton is going to attack, take care of Delver's Secrets. And now Brendan's side's clear. I suppose there's an argument the other way. If you keep the Bermaz, then you are playing around future Lilianas.
Yeah.
Because he brings his cat friends along. And we'll see. Brenden draw does not look any help. He's going to say go. He has 8 life, so he has 1 more draw step to work with. And it is going to be an Abrupt Decay. We are reset once again. Germ token hits the bin. Both players without threats. Who is going to break it first? All right, I'm starting to get into this game. Okay, it's been back and forth, but this is awesome. Like who's gonna win this one? Okay, land go. No one has anything.
I feel like Colin is favored from this spot because any creature gets something good going.
Yeah, he has Rushard and Port as his draw. Yes, creature. I mean, he has some cards that are really good, right? Flicker Wisp or something is just great. But first creature goes to Brenden. I believe it's a Tarmogoyf, so
Yeah,
it's
that's the
a
other
creature. Yeah, Sarah Avenger. That's a better creature.
Too much of Brendan's draws are also locked out by the rest in peace in play.
Brendan's gonna go ahead and daze the Sarah Avenger, but Colin sees that he has untapped mana and pays for it. Can Brenden? How many more? How many? I want to think how many Abrupt Decays are left in Brendan's deck. Like this is starting to become a relevant question. How soon until Brenden draws a Tombstalker?
Another question I have is how many cards are left in each player's deck because
They could mill.
it's shaping up. It's shaping up for potentially someone to get decked this game.
I mean, does Brenden have his Tombstalkers in? He has 2 of them. They'd be really good right about now.
Yeah, and Brendan's coming to the same realization that I am here that this may be an issue of decking.
Yeah, there are 2. There's another Liliana of the Veil in his deck somewhere too. That would be pretty good. If he kept the Toxic Deluge, if he brought in the Toxic Delugers, that would take care of Sarah Avenger. Not a great card, but at least it's a card that does something. Let me see. See, Abrupt Decay hitting Sarah Avenger, and now Colin's going to count the Abrupt Decays. Brenden, by the way, has 18 cards left in his deck. We are
I would imagine the Brainstorm, Ponder, Fetch Land guys a little bit behind on the card count race right now.
Yeah. Yeah, his deck's smaller.
The problem is that I don't even think Tombstalker is remotely castable. Brendan has no graveyard to work with. He's not going to get to 8
Oh gosh,
mana.
the Rest in Peace has been in game play all game. Oh, just kidding. Yeah, he's going to have to start playing lands to cast it. I mean, to be fair, he could maybe get to 8 mana. That's not unreasonable, right?
I mean, Colin's going to draw random wastelands and ports along the way.
Does he have 8 mana producing lands in his deck? If
He
he were
has-
tapping Wastelands.
4 wasteland, 2 bayou, so it's 6 for underground is 10. Trop is 11.
So all but 3. So if he's used 4 Wastelands, the answer is no.
This would be a quintessentially Death and Taxes style win here.
I keep your... I stopped all your cards from winning. Therefore, I win. Another Sarah Avenger.
Whoa,
For Colin Logan.
escalating the conflict. A real card.
So, yeah, and Wasteland for Brenden. I don't think he can be casting Wastelands here, right? He has to be keeping them for a possible Tombstalker?
Assuming they're still in the deck.
I mean, yeah, I think he has a pair of Hymn to Turox in his hand also. 3 damage off the Sarah Avenger puts Brenden down to 3. That and the Stoneforge Mystic. Will Brenden be able to draw something? He is now facing lethal next turn. He has 2 Hymn to Turox. He drew.
This is a Tombstalker.
So now he drew. And there you go. Colin Logan, 2-0. Takes a marathon match over Bug Delver.
Thank goodness that didn't go to 3.
If it went to 2, you just sort of had to bend into it, right?